Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Perda. I'm a life and marriage coach for moms, wife, mom of 3, and I'm also an Aries, and for my fellow human design nerds, a sacral manifesting generator. This podcast is for women who want to be happier in their marriage as they navigate their journey through motherhood, even if you're like me and you weren't shown how while growing up. Inside, we're going to be talking about breaking generational cycles when it comes to how to handle conflict in healthy ways, redefining motherhood your way, and prioritizing your well-being, because here, we believe that women don't have to sacrifice their happiness to be a great mom. And a quick note to mamas listening with kids around, you may want to pop your earbuds in because nothing is left unsaid on this show, which means there may be times where something I say isn't meant for little ears. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. I am so excited for this week's episode because I have Charise Freeman as a guest, and she is going to be sharing all about how to connect with your kids in a unique, effective, and efficient way. Now, she is a busy as F mom of 3, and I'm really excited for you to learn from her. I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay. So here we go. Hi, Charise. It is so good to have you on as a guest today. I've been waiting for this moment for so long. I just love you so much. And I feel like you bring so much value to motherhood, right? Like personally, I didn't have close relationships with my parents growing up, and I definitely want to change that for myself and my kids and anyone I encounter, like who just like watches how I do motherhood and who I have the pleasure of supporting as a coach. So Charise, can you tell us a little bit about you? Like, where do you live? What do you do? And all the good stuff. How many kids you got?
Well, I'm so happy to be here as well. I love listening to your podcast, so I'm excited. And I live in Sassoon City, California, and I have 3 children. One that is recently adopted, and he is 8. And then my son, who is 9, he will be 10 in about a month or so. And then my daughter, who's 16. And the things that I do, I work full time at the San Francisco VA hospital in the engineering department, and I supervise interior designers and project managers. And we do everything from renovating a small room to building whole new buildings. So that's a pretty adventurous job, and I love it. And for my business, I help moms connect with their families, just find the time to connect with their families through the everyday hustle and bustle and just the everyday thing that everybody has going on all the time, and even with electronics too. So that's a huge thing with my clients, is that they're like, everybody's always on their electronics. We never really get real time. So I help moms develop systems within their homes to help them with that. And yeah, that's pretty much the base.
Yeah. So needless to say, you are a busy mom. So I wanted to just throw this out there because I am especially excited for you to be a guest because I recently, I'll mention this later on, but I recently asked a question in my Facebook group, which if you're not in there, get in there. It's called Marriage and Motherhood. It's the and sign on Facebook, and it's private. But I recently asked a question there, and I was like, they need Charise in their life. They need Charise in their life. But I'll let us get to that later. So Charise, I love your business name. Can you share what it is and let us know how you created that name for your business?
Okay. It is Growing in Love Together. And is a result of my journey that I am on with my daughter. And I was in the military, which I did not mention in the beginning, but surprise, I was in the military. I was in the Air Force for about 8 years. And while in the military, I took my daughter to daycare most of the time, right? I went on deployments. I had to work crazy hours. So I took her to daycare, and I probably spent all of like 2 to 3 hours with her for the whole day, because I went to work at 2, got off at 11, and she was asleep. And so in 2011, on my last deployment, and it was my last, I wasn't sure, I was in between when I went to it. And on a phone call, the caregiver for my daughter asked me what her favorite food was. And I could not answer her. I did not have any clue. And I said, I have to call the person that takes care of her most of the time while I'm at work. And she was like, oh, okay. She had no judgment, but I judged myself a lot. I was like, wow, I can't even name what she likes. And then later finding out that it was macaroni and cheese kind of made it worse. I'm like, duh. And so I said, I really want better for her and my relationship than I did with my mom and my relationship, right? I wanted to connect with her on a deeper level and just understand her. I could see that I had a lot that I had to unpack, but I just didn't know how. And I felt like the military held me from doing that. I didn't have the time to myself. I was at the government's disposal, right? And so I didn't have that time to do things on my own. And if I did, I had no idea how. Like, I don't even know where to begin. So I said, hey, I'm eliminating the thing that feels like it's stopping me. So I got out of the Air Force and I went all the way. No job lined up, no nothing. All I knew is, hey, I'm just gonna go to school because the military pays for my school and we're just gonna figure it out. So I saved money from my deployment, got out, and I got an apartment or in a house, and I just did all the things for my daughter. I was able to do everything. I even did different things for myself, like put color in my hair and put color on my nails because I was allowed to do that, right? So I took her to school. We went to the zoo and all kind of just everything that I could think of. I walked her to school. I walked her to the bus stop when she started taking the bus. And I was just so excited about all the things. And I took pictures for Facebook. I posted them. I was so excited. And then I got a job after about a year of being unemployed. Oh no, I got a job interview. And after being unemployed for a year, and I was excited, they walked me through the whole place. I had recently had my son too. So I was like, okay, finally, I got this baby out. I could, go to a job interview without people looking like, so I went there to this job interview. I was excited. They showed me around the place. That means you got the job, right? So I was like, "Ooh, all right, cool." And on my way home from the job interview, I checked my voicemail, and I got a voice message from my daughter's school saying, "Hey, call us back. We can't say it on the voicemail." I'm like, "Oh my gosh. Okay, well, what is this?" So I pick up my son from his dad's, and as I'm when I called because I'm like, okay, somebody, just tell me what's going on. And they told me that my daughter said that she wanted to harm herself. And I said, okay, so where is she now? What's going on? And they told me, well, we had to transfer her to this facility. And I said, well, why? They said, well, because she not only said that, but she expressed how she was going to do it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I had to meet them at this like 72-hour hold facility because it was on a Friday. So in my mind, she's in the place with like all the crazy people, right? Just running around in straight jackets or whatever. So I'm like, oh my gosh, how can I get her out of here? And I felt so angry, just angry at her, angry at everything, just feeling like, oh my gosh, I completely failed. Like, what have I done? Why does she want to harm herself? I don't understand. So I couldn't see her in this facility. Once she transferred on the Monday to a children's facility, it was a John Muir hospital, and I got to see her there. So I went to go visit her, and I'm asking her, hey, you ready to come home? She said, no, I got a bed here. I got friends. I got my own room. Mind you, she has all that at home. Like, oh, so I was kind of like, what? Are you kidding me? So I just got more upset, and I'm like, fine. and I leave. I'm like, fine, if she wants to stay there, that's her business. I don't care. I'm just gonna do whatever and get on with my life. She wants to live there, let me know when you want to come home, right? So as I'm explaining this to D, who is now my significant other, but at the time we were just co-parenting, and he's like, just stop talking to me right now. Just don't. And I said, what was the problem? I have to go to school in order for them to pay my rent. So I can't keep going to this facility to visit her and miss school. And he said, this is your daughter you're talking about. So I don't understand. And I said, well, are you paying my rent? Is that what you're saying? Because if so, we can go with that and I'll go visit her. He said, no, I'm just, no. And I said, okay. And I left his house angrily with my son. And I like rushed and drove really fast. And as soon as I like hit the corner, I stopped and I parked and I just cried. Like once my pride dropped, everything, I just cried my eyes out. And I said, I really don't know what to do. And I don't know how to ask anybody anything because I haven't heard of this from anybody else around me. So I don't know. And I was like, okay. And all of a sudden, like sometime when you hit that breaking point, you're like the light bulbs come on, right? And you're like, okay, I can do this at least. So I was like, hey, let me call the school and just explain what's going on.
Yeah.
And once I did, they were like, okay, just come to like an evening class when you can. So I was able to go to the classes still and attend, like physically attend, like the terms of the agreement say. And I got my rent paid for still. So I went to see her like 3 times a day for like a week. And each time that I went, I I did not ask her if she wanted to come home. I just sat there with her, colored with her, and just did different things with her. And before I wanted so badly for her to come home, and I just said, there's something here that she's not okay with. And I have to figure that out. I can't like just have her come back home and like what's going to change? Like what's going to be different here? And so I signed up for parenting classes. I signed up for counseling for me, counseling for her, counseling for both of us. And I just really dug in deep. And I had counseling waiting for whenever she got out. So I explained to them that I was going to let her come home when she felt ready. And I went to counseling for myself. And during the parenting classes I was in, they spoke on the 5 love languages. And in listening to them, I realized that my daughter's top love language was touch. And one of the things that they communicate to you in this class is that when you use their love language as a discipline, it's communicating hate to them. And her love language being touch, and I spanked her, it was communicating to her that I hated her. And she even voiced that she thought I loved her brother more than her. And I was like, wow, no, that's not how I want her to feel. So once I realized like, hey, me doing this is hurting her, I was like, man, I need to really think about why, what's going on. So once she was ready to come home, I said to her we went to the library because that she loved to read and it was a safe space for her and also a safe space for me, and where I wouldn't be mad that she's not answering fast enough, and we just cut off the conversation and I walked to my room, right? So she was able to express herself without me getting angry. And I explained to her, hey, this is what I've been through. I don't know how to do this, but I'm willing to try. And so I explained to her, like, hey, your love language is this, which is physical touch, and you like hugs and stuff. I walked through the whole thing with her. And then she expressed to me what hurt her, what things hurt her. And I was like, wow, okay, so I apologized for those things and let her know, hey, I'm not perfect. If I mess up, let's talk about it and let's move forward together. My mission to connect with her in the beginning when I left the military was all about what I wanted to do. Wanted to go out, do quality time things, take pictures, and we're like hugging in the picture. But as soon as the picture's over, she's in her room and I'm in mine. and I post on Facebook as we're like some cool connected mother-daughter thing, right? And when I did that, it was all one-sided. And she wasn't really experiencing the physical touch, the love that she was wanting to have. And so when I decided that I was going to do this with her, I was going to grow the relationship together. And before that, I thought, what did I do wrong? How can I fix this for me? Like, what can I do? How can I? And it really just dawned on me, Charise, you need to remove the you out of this and just do this together. So I was like, wow, I had a lot of guilt. But when I removed the you, I just GILT, which is growing in love together. So that's how I came up with the the name for the business.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh my gosh. I love hearing your story. Like I've heard it multiple times, ladies, because Charise is one of my business besties, if you didn't know. But this story is so, so powerful. And I'm so glad you're out there sharing it with people because I feel like the whole one-sided parent-child relationship is very much a common experience in
Yes.
motherhood and parenthood, whatever you call it, right? And I just love how you are so real about how you had to drop your pride, which is really hard to do, by the way, because we are taught that with a heavy hand growing up, that the parent knows best, they decide everything, and you as a child should just fall in line, right?
Yeah.
It kind of feels military like, if I'm being
Yes.
honest, right?
Yes.
Now, but it's not life or death matter, right? It's not life or death. So there's that big difference. And I love that you take us on a journey of how you really had to get to your breaking point of realizing, wow, I really don't know my daughter. And I'm not okay with that. And not only did you take that and run with it, right? You could have just sat in it, got mad, and then, oh, well, I'm doing this for her, like that kind of mentality. But you're like, no, this is not the life that I want to live. You gave yourself some humility and you're like, I'm doing this with her. And now you have this beautiful relationship with her and your other two kids. And I'm just like so in awe of the transformation that you as a family have gone through. And like you're truly an example of it never being too late. It's never too late, right? If you respect all parties involved, of course they're going to want to be a part of it, right? But if we're like sitting on our high horse and pointing our fingers down at them, like, how dare you be ungrateful? Don't you know how much I do for you? You know? And in that example of like, yeah, we would take pictures and then, they'd be on their way. Like, I feel like a lot of people are experiencing that now with their kids and with their spouses, right? So it's more than having this like picture perfect image of like, look at my Instagram feed, look how happy we look. Like the
Yeah.
point of it is, do you feel happy?
Right. Right.
Do
Right.
they feel happy?
Yes.
Right? Like that we're not trying to go for this like image where things look perfect and then you get blindsided later on, like you did, where you get a call from school and they're like, what? Like my child wants to do what? She thinks I hate her. What? Like, how could she possibly think that? Like, when you are connected and you have like a good pulse on the situation and you're intentional, that doesn't happen, right? That doesn't happen. So actually, I wanted to plug this in. Okay, so for those who are not familiar with the five love languages, because
Oh,
Charise
yeah.
is like centered all around five love languages and it's amazing. But if you're not familiar with it, I actually did an episode on this a few back, I think episode 17. Okay, so if you want to kind of get a snippet of what the five love languages are, go listen to that episode so that you can learn about how impactful it is when what you do actually is received the way you intended to, okay? Because we all experience, give, receive love differently. And so while you might be doing something thinking that your receiving person, so in Charise's case, her daughter, you might be doing something where you're like, yeah, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And they're like, that's cool. Like I'm not receiving the love that I need. And so I don't think I'm actually being loved. You're just doing stuff. Right. So the love languages is a really, really great tool to use to make sure that your efforts are actually paying off. Okay. So that's all I'll say about that. But coming back to our conversation, what is the most important thing to remember when it comes to connecting with your kids? Because like you, right? Like life is busy. You personally have a lot going on. You got a full-time job, you've got your own business, you've got a million kids like I do, you've got a partner, you have your own stuff going on, right? So how do you make sure that you're utilizing your time effectively? Because I also happen to know about you. You're not the kind of person who's like, I'm my child's only source of entertainment and I'm here to just be
Right.
your jester, right? Like I happen to know that that is not you. So please share with everyone how you make sure that you still have time to be you as a woman, right? To empower your side of self to live a life that's fulfilling and have these deep, meaningful connections that you are now helping other moms create.
Um, First thing is being intentional with the connection, right? So like
Yes.
there is a lot of things going on. There is always time. So the perfect example, yesterday, my son, he asked me, when are you going to pick up the food? And I said, a little bit. He said, can I go with you? My first instinct is no,
No,
because I want to
give me
get by
my alone
myself.
time.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
But for him, he wants time with me. And he's been pulling for the last 2 days. So I'm noticing that. So I said, yeah. And during that ride, I didn't play music. I just let him yatta, 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 whatever he wanted to say. Right. And I listened to him. And we went in to get the food. He grabs both of the Chinese food, is what we got. I know Michelle's dying to know.
I'm a foodie if you haven't learned that by now.
Um, he got both bags of Chinese food and also opened the door for me. So I was like, oh, thank you so much. He's a words of affirmation person. So my intention the whole time was display words of affirmation, display words of affirmation every time. Anything, just display words of affirmation.
Mhm.
And when I got home, he was to himself, did his own thing. Well, what does that look like on the other end if I said no? When I left, what would he done? Mom, can I have, right when I leave, he wants to call,
Mhm.
right? And ask me for a billion things. And I'm like, wait till I get back, wait till I get back, or sure, do whatever. And then when I come in, it's, hey, I wanted to know, yada, 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 yada. But me taking that 5, 6 minutes or whatever for him created a space that was like totally all mine when I got home. So when you're intentional about it, is when they are fed the most. And that level meter goes up when you do that. And it fills it back up like, yes, she loves me. So they don't
Mhm.
have to look for it in ways that are crazy, right? And make you crazy.
Yes.
So that's what is a top thing, is being intentional with that always, and finding the time when you probably don't want to, but the reward is greater at the end. You don't have that whole mess later. And there was another question, but I don't remember the other question.
I think you answered it.
Okay.
But if you didn't, I've already forgot the question. For those who don't know, I'm currently recovering from COVID. So there's that. But I love your answer. And I see so many parallels when it comes to our own relationship with ourselves, right? Like there's always time when we're intentional. Like if you have been in my space for a long time, you know that like that is a common word that comes out of my mouth. Be intentional, 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 intentional. When we're not intentional, that's when life feels like it's happening to us.
Yes.
That's when it feels like we're out of control and we're not creating the life, the relationships that we want to experience. Right. And I love that you look ahead, right? Like, what would have happened if I said no, right? Because oftentimes we get stuck thinking about the now instead of the benefits that would play out in the future. Not to say that you should always say yes, right? Like,
Right.
that's not what we're
Yeah.
saying, but
No.
you have to balance out, like, okay, well, what's the reward and what's the consequence? Like, what would I rather do right now? If you don't have the capacity, like, fine, right? Find a different way later on. And the funny thing about parenthood that I'm learning, and I'm constantly learning, like not always in a nice way, is that connection nurtures collaboration,
Yes.
right? So can you
Yes.
share with us what difference do you see when you spend time being intentional with your kids and how your home feels?
So, we had a huge day of connection yesterday, and waking up this morning, or like last night when everybody's doing their own thing, right? Because we just had like tons of time. They don't Once they know quality times, then they're like, okay, great, because that's me. I'm all day quality time. That's what I love. So they're just like, all right, we are done with that. We're gonna do our own thing. So, but with that, during the whole time that we were together, I was intentional about how I was connecting with each of them. And so when I went to bed, I actually fell asleep, right? And then you wake up and you're thinking, oh gosh, what does this place look like? But it didn't look crazy when I woke up, right? Like they put the food away, like all the things, right? And that is as a result of our being connected and me being intentional with them. And every day it's like that. I have them do their own things, like their own what I like to call contributions, but everybody says chores, but they're contributions. So I go to work, come home, and I contribute to the household. And my kids go to school or do whatever they do, they come home and have to contribute, right? So there's no like, hey, I do everything because I'm the mom, or they do everything because they're the kids. We collaborate on that all the
Okay,
time.
let's do a timeout on this one, okay? Can you say that again? Say that again a little louder for those who are like multitasking. Okay, moms, like time out. I want you to pause whatever the heck you're doing, unless it's driving. Don't pause that. But listen to what she just said. Okay, Trace, go ahead, repeat that.
I'm not doing everything because I'm the mom, and they're not doing everything just because they're the children and I tell them to. We're doing it together. And that's how collaboration is in our home.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so you know that question I alluded to in the beginning of the episode. I had asked the Facebook group, how often do you allow yourself to enjoy the pleasures of life? And I wrote, hint, this is directly related to your overall happiness. Do you know how many moms ended up telling me, I don't have time? Okay? Like, I happen to know several of these moms who answered have kids old enough to do chores, or in Sharice's instance, house contributions. I like that better. Okay. Unless your child is an infant or like, I don't know, one, they can help.
Yes.
Okay. Obviously, the younger they are, it's kind of more work for them, but like we're talking about, like when you think about the long term, you're setting yourself up in better ways so that the family has more time to do whatever they want to do, right?
Yes.
Like And it helps them feel like a contributing member of this like micro society you have in your home. It makes them feel like they have a purpose. It makes them feel like they're a part of a team. And
Yes.
plus, they get more privileges, in my house at least,
Yes.
when they do things to help the family out. Like I have a 12-and-a-half-year-old, an almost 6-year-old, and a 2-year-old. Everybody does something, at least something. Obviously, my oldest does more. He actually does almost as much as the adults do in the family. But he also has the most privileges out of all the kids. We basically don't really have any, like no's for him as long as his stuff is taken care of and he's being responsible, obviously, and safe, right?
Yes.
But we
Mhm.
basically never really tell him no as long as his stuff is done. And we get more time to hang out if mom and dad aren't busy, like, putting the house back together while the kids are just sitting around complaining
Right.
about when do we get to hang out? Well, if you want to hang out, you better help out because we're going to be done
Right.
faster if you help out,
Yes. Yes.
right? So Charisse has an amazing resource for this. If this is something that you've been having trouble figuring out how to implement in your home, can you please tell us about that? Because I want to stop hearing from moms. I don't have time because they're like out there burning the midnight oil, doing things that their kids could be doing too, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I want them to realize that it's not about finding time, it's about
Mhm.
making time,
Right. Right.
and that their experience of life is just as important as their child's.
Yes.
Okay. So the next time I ask this question in my Facebook group, I don't want to hear any of that. Okay. For those of you who are in there, I don't want to hear any of that. And this is coming from such a loving place, right?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
this is coming from always a loving place in that if this is you and you think you don't have time, it's time to take time to figure out why you think you don't have time so that you have time. But anyway, I'm going
Yes.
to get
Yes.
off my soapbox because that really upsets me.
Yes. I like you, Michelle. I feel so like lost when everyone is like, "Oh, your son cooks and your daughter cooks." I'm like, "Yeah, they, I don't even know what to say, right?" So this I've been doing since my daughter was 3 years old. So I
And she's
didn't
how
have
old now?
16.
Okay.
And I didn't have like my cool contributions chart at the time, right? I just knew I want to instill this in her that we all are doing this. Okay. I'm not coming home, folding all your laundry, putting it away, all that stuff. Right. So at 3 years old, I said, what can she do? Okay. I fold, she put them in the drawers, right? Even if it means I open and close them because sometimes they get a little, their fingers might get
Mhm.
caught or things like that. But or they get happy and want to keep doing it. One of the two. So
Or take all
I
the clothes out and throw them around like
yeah, just
confetti
start
like my
throwing.
daughter.
So I told her, okay, hey, you put these away. And do you remember what drawer they go in? And it's just a whole teaching thing. Like, right, once you start teaching them, this is what you do, this is how we do this. And eventually she started saying, well, let me help you fold it. Right. So I started to show her this is how you fold the shirt. Doesn't look like that now, but they're
Mhm.
folded and it's okay. So I would show her that. And also at 3 years old, I had her turning off the light switches. I said, hey, if no one's in there, you turn off the light. You are okay to turn it off. Nobody's using it. And it would become a thing like, are you using this? And it's what she wanted to do. This is your job throughout the house, right? When we're getting ready to leave, hey, can you check to make sure all the lights are off? And that would be her contribution at 3 years old. Every child that was 3 years old in my home did that. That's how everything started.
How do they reach?
If they we had a little stool.
Like so okay. I'm
Yeah,
like
yeah,
thinking Ellie is way too short for
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that. Okay, I love it.
yeah. And That's what they have and they use for when they do their laundry because the washer's too deep. They can't get in there. So once that happened, I was like, okay, cool. And once she got to the stage where she was like, no, like they don't want to do
Mm-hmm.
anything, nothing. So I started to give her like my son anyway, because my daughter was kind of simple because I was militant with her. So she just was like, sure, I'll do whatever you say. Just don't spank me. Right. So my son, though, he's very like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. So I started implementing choices with him because
Yes.
that made it easier for me. Like, would you like to put these away now or in 5 minutes?
Yeah.
And so another thing when it comes to doing these things is consistency. So if he wants to put it away in 5 minutes, we gotta set the timer for 5 minutes so that
Yes.
he knows, hey, okay, once this timer's up, you are gonna put your clothes away. And if he doesn't do that, then it goes into a whole thing, right? We have to just keep being consistent with it. And they eventually learn and don't want to be made to do anything. They want the choice. So if you present, hey, if you don't put them away in 5 minutes, would you like me to make the choice for you and make you do it, or would you like to do it? So it's just a whole choice thing. That's where they got
Mm-hmm.
even older, right? I say, hey, I once I put down all the things that I don't want to do by myself, right? I put them all down. And then I say to myself, how many times do I want this done? How many times do I want the bathroom cleaned a week? Okay, let's go with 2 times, right? So then when I'm presenting this, after I got them all done, right? Presenting this to them, like I asked my daughter, so do you want to clean the bathroom on Monday and Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
She still has the choice. And she goes, And it allows her to kind of think and situate like what she has going on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which is usually jujitsu. That's what she said now. So she's like, I probably don't want to clean the bathroom those days. Maybe Monday and Wednesday. Okay, great. We'll put you down for Monday and Wednesday.
Yeah. I like the autonomy that you include because you're really respecting their individual life,
Yes.
not by, you know, delegating and assigning when it's going to happen. I think as kids, they often lack choices. And so anywhere you can give them choice is going to feel really, really good.
Yes. Yes. Very, very good. They really enjoy that. And it's something that I can remind them of like, hey, you chose Tuesday and Thursday. So are you saying that Tuesday and Thursday doesn't work? Would you like to try
Mhm.
Monday and Wednesday? Just to give them that switch, if we can. But if
Yeah.
we switch it, this is what will happen. Like these other things, the other contributions will have to shift, or we have to kind of look at the
Yeah.
whole thing and just helping them process through that and letting them know that you have the choice always to choose and move how you would like to. Because as adults, I really look at it as an adult, how do I feel? Most of the time when I choose one
Yes.
thing, I feel like, oh my gosh, I can't change it. I gotta like, I don't have any
Uh-huh.
room, like maybe and I do all the time. I have the ability to change it. But what does that mean if I do? And just really saying that to myself, right? And not just not showing up because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, right? But actually being mature and saying, hey, I can't do this, but can we look at doing this? And that will help a lot more, I feel, as they get older to make the choice like later on. So yeah,
Yeah.
I that's what I do to make sure everybody contributes, including my lovely man, my significant other. He
Yeah.
has things that he does around the home as well, and he does them, the floors, I believe, is his right now, like cleaning all the wood floors. So he does that on a specific day, takes out the trash on a specific day. His name's there. He does laundry every other week. I do it the other weeks. So it's there, you know. That's what
I
we do.
love it. I love it so much. So I happen to know that you have a membership coming up to
Oh yes.
support moms on how to connect with their kids. But
Mm-hmm.
also, if you didn't know, she has a book. She's
Yes,
like
I
that
do.
kind of woman. She wrote a book. Um, and it's called Growing in Love Together, a military mother's 90-day guide to a greater connection with her daughter. Okay, I don't have a military background, but this book is helpful for me as well. even if my daughter's like 2, but I could use this with my other kids as well. So can you tell us a little bit more about your book and your upcoming membership?
Okay, so the book is centered around my love for the love languages, and it has connection things that you can do with your child that are 5 minutes or 30 minutes, 5, 10, 15. They're very small amounts of time and very practical things. So, for instance, like the first one is make her bed. So that's an acts of service. It goes with the acts of service love language, and they they love that to be done because it's one of their contributions that they have to do. So
Yeah.
they love that it's being done for them, and that it doesn't take a lot of time, and even things like we'll sit with her while she gets ready. Right, you're sitting with them, just having quality time. That's it. And you're intentional about that connection, right? At the same time. So that book is near and dear to me because it's literally the things that I do and they work. And it's a 90-day thing. So it's every day there's one task that you can do with your child that is no more than like 30 minutes. And yeah, for the membership, it's a monthly newsletter with connection tips in them for the month. So each month we focus on one love language. And I was asked this before, like, how often should you do each of the love languages? Or how, what does that look like? Do you do one
Yeah.
every day, one a week? And to be honest, to be more intentional, just do one per month. And that's what my membership does. It'll highlight one and give you tips on what to do for that month. And you will hold that space of intention for that connection, for that love language.
I love that so much. This is really handy for like the busy mom who like, I don't want to think about this. Just tell me what to do. Like, this is perfect for that. Okay. Like, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how that grows. And I know the moms out there who sign up are going to love it.
And it is
So,
$10 a month. So
oh,
it's just
$10. Okay,
$10.
super affordable, ladies.
Just
Super,
$10 a
super
month.
affordable. Okay, so for the price of like 1.5 Starbucks,
Yeah.
gone so much. But
I know.
um, yes, definitely go check that out. I'll have all the links in the show notes. But where can people find you? Where can they connect with you if they're like, oh my gosh, I desperately want to change my relationship with my kids for the better. Charise is the person for me to help me do that. How can they connect with you?
On Instagram, you can find me there, Growing in Love Together. Surprise, all spelled right. No numbers or anything, just Growing in Love Together. And also, you can connect with me on Facebook. And if you just type my name in, or if you type in Growing in Love Together, you'll find me as well. And
Perfect.
yeah, that's it. That's the two places
Awesome.
that I live.
Yeah, I love it. So, for fun, I like to ask my guests get to know you questions so that our listeners can find out more about you, right? So, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay. What's a food you can eat every day and never get sick of?
Ooh, I'd have to say potato in any form.
Yeah. Ooh, that's pretty versatile. I like it. I like it. What's your favorite place to vacation?
I'd imagine it will be Jamaica after I come back.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited to hear from it from you about the trip. Your resort looks incredible. What's your favorite trashy TV show?
um, The Circle. And I don't know how trashy that is, but I love The
The
Circle.
Circle. What
It's
is that? I
on
haven't seen that.
it's on Netflix. It's a social media like experiment type of thing.
Oh,
And they're they basically have these profiles up and everybody views their profile, and they are able to just type to each other and do like little things, and they end up winning like 100 grand at the end if they're
Oh,
the
okay.
one that's picked, or it's like a popularity contest. And
Oh,
it's
got it.
really interesting, but I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your favorite thing to do for self-care?
Mm, listen to music, you know,
Yeah.
listen to music, chill out, watch Netflix uninterrupted, take a nap, in which I'm going to start having uninterrupted naps because I'm going to tell them something so they do not wake me up before my nap is over.
Yeah. What's something you said you never do when you become a mom that you now do?
Say those things like, if I would say to my mom, hey, I wanted to do, I don't know, like play basketball. Well, you need to be playing basketball in here where you got all the energy, like why don't you play basketball and do dishes or whatever, it's like kind of like disjointed, doesn't make any sense type of thing. Yeah, I've done that. You got energy,
That's
you can be doing something in here, like
uh-huh.
okay.
I love that. That's hilarious. What's something you're really looking forward to?
I am looking forward to um pouring into these moms in my membership.
Mhm.
It's very much needed, and just the conversations that I have with other moms and just seeing that and how they just light up and want to like feed more on the information that I have. I want to get it to more moms, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Ah, exciting. I can't wait to hear all the lives that you're going to change through this membership, and I just know it's going to be so fulfilling and heartwarming for you to like get that feedback like, "Oh my gosh, this is what
Yes.
happened. Thank you so much." Ah, so good. All right, last question. What's your favorite song to jam out to? I know this is hard because you
Oh,
love your music, because I don't
yes.
even know how I would answer this personally, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
I love all kind of music, so it's kind of making it difficult. But in this season right now, I really am enjoying Eniko
Mm,
and her song "Caught a Body." It's just like, it's just talk about taking you into ascension and like being, just I feel like I'm being someone, my full self, just
yeah.
no matter what. And it's like got a really like catchy beat and everything. I just
Ooh,
love everything about it. I listened to it before I was hopping on the podcast because it really just takes me to where I want to be.
I love that. It's your hype song.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being a guest on this show. I know the moms out there listening are going to get so much out of being connected with you and checking out that membership, and even just like following you on Instagram and seeing
Yes.
what you're up to. This woman is truly like an embodiment of what she teaches. Okay. She's just not out there saying, go do these things, but I don't do these things. Like she's living and breathing her 90-day guide. And so if you are truly looking to turn your relationship around with your kids, this woman is the woman to follow. Okay. She is in all the things with her two jobs, her three kids, her her relationship, and all things. So like if she can do it, so can you. And you deserve to have a really fulfilling relationship with your kids. So go check her out. Thank you again, Charise. I loved having you as a guest on this show, and I know I'll be talking to you really soon, but thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
If you like this podcast, then you'll want to join my private Facebook community, Marriage and Motherhood. The fights and the disconnect you're currently experiencing doesn't have to be how things go for the rest of your life. If you're ready to give your marriage a makeover, come join the Marriage and Motherhood community to learn how to create a healthy, happy, and connected marriage that you actually enjoy and your kids can look up to. Thank you so much for listening to the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. I hope that this episode helped you deepen your relationship with your husband and, more importantly, with yourself. I hope to see you inside the Marriage and Motherhood community, and I look forward to supporting you in there. Otherwise, see you back here next week. Bye.